Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you guys are at. Oh, how are you? Thanks for joining us again today.
You can see my screen still?
I can see you, not your screen. Yeah,
Okay, let me make sure I share that again.
yeah. We will get started shortly. Yeah, for people that are joining, we're excited to have Dr. Well here again today. We also just launched an update on the MedBio platform. So if you go to medbioinstitute.com, we have a kind of a new look and feel over there, and we have some new resources. There's like an updated resource library, and we have articles on like a lot of different topics. There's a peptide index. There's a revamped calendar with all our upcoming webinars and events. And then if you become a MedBio member, we have some really great resources for members. And we're offering, there's a 14-day free trial and 50% off membership right now. So there's a whole peptide protocol library, and we're going to actually build out the protocol library beyond just peptides. We have there's like a research database. There's a lot of like really good tools back there. There's a whole library of like on-demand content that provides really good information for clinics. So highly recommend you check it out.
I'm excited for y'all that got to have it released now. It's live.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. It's been a labor of love. We're excited that it's out in the wild. And we're always looking for feedback. So if you see something on there that you think is really great, let us know. If there's other topics you guys want to learn about, let us know. We're always open to iterating and making this better for the community. So yeah.
All right, when you can now you can see my screen.
Now I can see your screen. Yeah.
Great, great.
Well, thank you for joining today. We have Dr. Kaplan here he's the CEO at Dr. Well. So he is going to share with us some information on GLP-1s, why the shortage list doesn't matter. So, as we are going, as he's going through this, there's a chat down here. If everyone kind of wants to start chiming in on the chat, let us know, where you're from. It's good to hear from everybody. If you have questions, either put them in the chat or you can also put them into the Q&A. And what we'll do is we'll hold those until the end, and then we'll start running through them. So with that, I will pass it over to you.
All right. Well, we have people joining us from Puerto Rico and Colorado, so very excited. Now, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back. I'll be back again in September, but I wanted to first introduce myself. I'm Jonathan Kaplan. I'm a plastic surgeon in San Francisco. The reason we got into the whole weight and wellness business is a few years ago, even before the Ozempic craze, we had patients coming in for body contouring procedures like liposuction and tummy tucks, and they weren't good candidates for surgery because their BMI was too high. So rather than turning them away, our nurse and nurse practitioner suggested that we start a weight program with coaching initially and phentermine and the other medications that were available. And then we got access to the compounded versions of semaglutide and then tirzepatide. And so today I want to talk about how those were on the shortage list. That's how the compounding, the name brand drugs, the Ozempics, the Mounjaros, the Wegovy's, the Zepbounds were on the shortage list, and so that's how the compounding pharmacies were able to get access to these medications or able to produce these medications. But they're not on the shortage list anymore, and I'll go through the timeline on that. So how is it possible we can still get these medications? But I'm also the founder CEO of Dr. Well, as Katya mentioned. It's a provider to consumer platform that helps providers compete with direct to consumer websites. Basically, when the consumer signs up with a direct to consumer website, sure, they make it easy to get access to the meds, but after they sign up for the medication subscription, their relationship is with the website. What we do at Dr. Wells, we take that technology to make it easy for consumers to get access, and we put it in the hands of an actual medical practice. So when the patient signs up, they're connected to you, to your practice, whether it's brick and mortar or not, and so that you can help them through their weight or wellness journey. So let's go ahead and get started with whether you should just the most basic question, whether you should incorporate weight and wellness. If you're not already doing this, within our network, our average network providers, almost $88,000 a year in annual recurring revenue, over 200 patients annually, $6,100 in savings because we get them access to less expensive medications, legal 503A and 503B meds, and almost 70 hours worth of time saved. And that's really mostly because if somebody's subscription payment fails, our system will reach out to them and get them to update their credit card. So your office staff isn't having to track down patients whose credit cards are failing. So that's one of the big reasons you're saving a lot of time with the Dr. Well platform. And our top earning network providers, over $4 million in annual recurring revenue, over 650 patients, $45,000 in cost of goods savings, and over 500 hours in time saved. But getting back to the shortage list with tirzepatide, that timeline is that they went on the shortage list in December of 2022. It's been a while. And then it was on the shortage list for almost 2 years by the time the FDA came out and said that the shortage is resolved. And then soon after in October, the OFA, which is the Outsourcing Facilities Association, which represents 503B pharmacies, those are the pharmacies that are governed by the FDA. They filed suit against the FDA saying that it was, capricious, that and behind the scenes and under the radar, that they took these things off of the shortage list and that they should be able to continue compounding. And so while the suit was going on, the judge said, okay, fine, you can continue compounding while the suit is ongoing. The FDA reaffirmed in December of 2024, yes, we really mean it. These meds are on shortage, even though if you look at the facts on the street, if you reach out to a distributor like McKesson or Cardinal and you ask them for their Zepbound, they'll say, sure, we've got some. And you're like, great, I've got 100 patients. I need 100 syringes. Like, well, we'll give you two. So things can be off the shortage list, but they can still not be readily available. So they can still be in shortage, even if every dose is technically available. So even though they claim there's no shortage, it's really not the case. But according to the law, it is the case. And then like I said, they reaffirmed the shortage in December, and they set these deadlines that by February 18th, 503A pharmacies had to quit. By March 19th, the 503B pharmacies had to quit. And then what ended up happening is that the judge finally said, okay, while this case is ongoing, the FDA can enforce these meds not being allowed to be compounded by compounding pharmacies. And so they officially came off the shortage list, or what the compounding pharmacies officially had to stop making it as of March 19th, no compounding of tirzepatide. Now, they're obviously still compounding it, but I'll get to those details in a second of how they're able to compound it. And similarly, I want to go over semaglutide, that it was added to the shortage list in March of 22, and it was on the shortage list for almost 3 years. And it's the same kind of thing happened again. The Outsourcing Facilities Association filed suit against the FDA. The judge said, okay, you can keep compounding while the suit is going on. And then finally in June of 25, the judge said, okay, it's no longer in shortage. 503A, 503B pharmacies have to stop compounding, which they did around in June. But in both cases, semaglutide, tirzepatide, the 503B pharmacies had to stop. Those are the ones that can make these medications in bulk. It's not patient specific. They're overseen by the FDA more directly, whereas the 503A pharmacies are overseen more so by the states. But they're still all under the FDA because the 503A, 503B, those are codes in the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act. So they're all under federal oversight to some extent. But anyway, the distinction is, though, 503B pharmacies that are not patient specific, they really had to stop. But the 503A pharmacies, if it's patient specific, then they can continue making these, not the pure semaglutide or tirzepatide, but they can switch to commercially unavailable alternative formulations. I'm going to spend a good bit of time here. How can the 50, so I just told you that these are off the shortage list. They can't compound anymore, but now I'm going to tell you how they can continue compounding it legally, the 503A pharmacies specifically. And the information I'm providing you, it is from our Dr. Well General Counsel. If any of you work with Bird Adato, they're big in the aesthetic space. They referred me over to our attorney, who's now our general counsel, who's a pharmacist and an attorney. So Bird Adato thinks this guy is the expert. And Bird Adato, their expertise lies within the medical director space as far as, med spas and things. And we will actually be doing a webinar with them in the latter part of September about medical directorships. And I'll talk more about that later in this presentation. But anyway, I just want to let you know that the legal guidance that I'm talking about, I'm not necessarily giving you legal guidance because I'm not an attorney, but the information that I'm providing to you is from our pharmacist attorney general counsel, who is referred over by Bird Adato. So if y'all are familiar with Bird Adato, then you know that I'm working with very knowledgeable attorneys here. Anyway, so when it comes to commercially unavailable alternative formulations, the idea is that same thing with both tirzepatide and semaglutide, that they're patient specific and compounding pharmacy rules still apply, whether there's a shortage list or not, which is why I say that it's irrelevant, because if the patient can't get something commercially, then they can go to a compounding pharmacy and get a commercially unavailable alternative, and the provider just has to submit a reason the patient needs, a medically bona fide reason the patient needs to get the compounded version that the commercial version won't do. And so here are some medically bona fide reasons why a patient may need these medications that are not commercially available, why they may need it from a compounding pharmacy. And this isn't about, a lot of the direct consumer websites will talk about, oh, well, they're personalized. All right, let's I don't want to come off as like, that it's just when they tell everybody, oh, these are personalized doses, they're kind of patronizing everybody. Like, good and well, you're not personalizing thousands and thousands of treatments for patients. So it's a little bit of a lie. So that's not what we say at Dr. Well. We're not personalizing these, but what we are providing is these commercially unavailable alternative formulations that address side effects that we know exist with these GLP-1 medications. We know they can lead to lean body mass loss. That's why our compounding pharmacies include glycine to minimize lean body mass loss with both tirzepatide and semaglutide. If everybody has the potential for these side effects, with any type of weight loss, you could lose lean body mass loss, including with these medications. Why, as providers, would we not try to preemptively address those potential side effects? I mean, that's what a good provider does. They try to preemptively treat issues before they become an issue. And so that's why they add glycine to it. There's not a commercially available glycine medication option. Now they could say, oh, well, you can get the commercial brand and you can get glycine separately and do 2 injections a week. Well, that potentially doubles your risk of infection. And then the other thing is B12. This one has really got a lot of medical fundamentals to it, in the sense that these medications, GLP-1s, one of the ways they work is through delayed gastric emptying. Food moves more slowly from the stomach to the intestines. You feel more full, you eat less, you lose weight. But that delayed gastric emptying can decrease the amount of B vitamins that you can absorb in your small intestine. So if we know that these can lead to delayed gastric emptying, these medications and the delayed gastric emptying can lead to a potential depletion of B vitamins, then these patients need B12. And so that's a reason to add B12 to tirzepatide or to semaglutide. But the thing is, the commercially available version of B12 is cyanocobalamin, which is not readily available for all patients. Believe it or not, there's about 30% of the population that don't have a particular gene or an enzyme that can convert cyanocobalamin to the more readily available methylcobalamin. So the only place you can get methylcobalamin is from compounding pharmacies. So compounding pharmacies who are making the tirzepatide or semaglutide, they can add methylcobalamin to it. That's clearly not commercially available. That's clearly a benefit to the patient, that if the delayed gastric emptying that we know occurs with these GLP-1s can lead to B vitamin depletion, then having B12 with the formulation of tirzepatide or semaglutide makes perfect sense. And we actually have, from our general counsel, we have a legal memo on this explaining why the B12, the methylcobalamin version, is so critical to adding to these GLP-1s, and that's obviously just not commercially available. So, as long as you have a medically bona fide reason that you submit to the pharmacy at the time of submitting the prescription, they can fill it, and they will want you to submit that reason with it, because if they ever get audited, they want to be able to show, yeah, the provider provided a medically bona fide reason when they submitted this prescription for GLP-1 or for any medication. If there's a commercially available version of any medication, if you're going through a compounding pharmacy, you still need to provide a medically bona fide reason for it. So this is like just good medicine that you're including B12 with it. You're not personalizing it. You're personalizing it from the extent of that you're just addressing a specific side effect that occurs with GLP-1s. So that's why it makes perfect sense to get these from compounding pharmacies. And the thing to keep in mind also is that the FDA is not going to come in and say, oh, well, we don't trust your medically bona fide reason. First of all, they don't have the bandwidth to handle that. They fired a bunch of people. They never had the bandwidth for that. But also, they're not going to come to individual providers and say, we don't believe in your medically bona fide reason of adding B12 or getting the tirzepatide or semaglutide with B12 or glycine. Because if they start questioning every doctor's medically bona fide reasoning, then that unravels the fabric of healthcare in America. So the other commercially unavailable alternative formulation that Dr. Wells specifically has is super semaglutide. And this is high dose, high concentration semaglutide. Right now, the standard Wegovy dose for weight loss goes up to 2.4 milligrams, which is what you were able to get while semaglutide was on the shortage list. Well, now Novo Nordisk has actually done the studies showing that going all the way up to 7.2 milligrams is safe and effective. It can actually help people on a plateau lose even more weight. It's not commercially, or it's not an FDA indication for that yet, so it's not commercially available at 7.2 milligram dose, which I guess eventually it will be. But for now, it's not available commercially. And so that's why our compounding pharmacies are providing semaglutide up to those levels of 7.2 milligrams. Now, you can get semaglutide from any pharmacy now and give a patient 7.2 milligrams, but because of the lower concentration, you're going to be giving that patient 2 and 3 cc's of semaglutide every week. That's a lot of semaglutide to have to give, at least a lot of volume to give somebody. And so what we're specifically addressing is with the compounding pharmacies we're working with is we're getting higher concentration so that even going all the way up to 7.2 milligrams, you're going to be able to give the patient a shot of less than 1 cc, which is a completely reasonable amount for them to do with a subcutaneous injection. So that's really important that, again, not commercially available, and that's super semaglutide that we offer. The other one that we offer that's not commercially available that we're very excited about and that I'm personally on, that I'm a big fan of, is GLP-1 squared. And that's a combination of semaglutide and tirzepatide in the same vial. And now, what's the reasoning behind this? Well, our nurse practitioner in our office noticed patients were coming in who were on semaglutide, maybe not losing as much weight as they wanted, so we switched them over to tirzepatide. But then they noticed, well, yes, my appetite suppression is better, but I've got a lot more food noise. I'm not able to avoid eating as much as possible because I'm thinking about food all the time because I have more food noise without that semaglutide. So we're like, okay, well, let's combine them and reduce food noise and suppress appetite at the same time. What we found is when you combine them, you can actually lower the dose of each. So it's not just like 2.5 milligrams of tirzepatide mixed with 0.25 of semaglutide. It's lower doses of each, and they have this, what we feel like, what we are seeing is a synergistic effect. And that is something that is now patent pending for us. We've done the paperwork. We've submitted it for patent pending status of the GLP-1 squared. We've submitted the paperwork for the trademark. We're doing a lot of exciting things with GLP-1 squared, and we're even looking into the use of for addiction purposes. But as of right now, we're also using it for weight loss and for people, even not necessarily people who are just on a plateau that want to try GLP-1 squared, but also people who are just starting out, that we know that this is safe in our patient population, and that people can start on the lowest dose of GLP-1 squared, especially if they're worried, if they want to take the minimum amount of medication. Again, we can lower the doses of each. And so people who even are just starting out for the first time, they can even take GLP-1 squared, and that's exclusively available through us, and it's commercially unavailable, and of course, an alternative formulation. The other thing that you can do, that these pharmacies can do to continue compounding these medications, is vary the dose by 10%. Now, this may seem like a little sketchy, but it really is true. is that, and I don't want to call it a loophole, it's just, it's legal. Because the thing is, when you're talking about generic medications, if you're talking about a generic blood pressure medication, let's say the commercially available name brand blood pressure medication is 10 milligrams, the FDA allows generics, obviously, to exist. But if that generic medication measures out at 9.8 milligrams instead of 10 milligrams, the FDA will say, you know what, it's within 10%, it's the same drug. It's still considered, even though it's not exactly the same exact milligrams, will allow a little bit of variation within 10% and still consider it the exact same drug. So if within 10% is the same drug, outside of 10% is not the same drug. And so that's what they're doing. That's what they're also doing, is they're varying the dosage by greater than 10% so that it's different, so that it's different than the it's different than the commercially available brand. And so this is a conversion chart that we're able to submit the prescription for that semaglutide or tirzepatide that's outside of the 10% dosage range of the commercially available one, but we can provide our providers and our patients a conversion chart dependent based on the concentration of the vial that we're getting. We can actually show you that, okay, well, if you want to get back from the 2.2 milligrams of tirzepatide that's in the vial, if you want to get back to 2.5 milligrams, then you would go from 28 units to 30 units, for example. So those are things that you as a provider can do. That's legal. You can adjust the dose for your patient. That's not unreasonable. It's just the pharmacy can't give you that standard dose. They'll give you the below standard dose, and you can just, there's enough volume in there to just increase the number of units and be able to get back to that standard dose. So that's just some things that that you can do, even if you can only get the dosage from the pharmacy that they is less than, is outside of that 10% range. So those are some examples of things that you can do that are commercially available, commercially unavailable alternative formulations. Now, if you're going to do this, you still want to focus on legally sourcing your medications. You got to still find quality 503A or 503B pharmacies. Now, the 503B pharmacies won't be able to make GLP-1s, but just in general, I'm talking about if you're getting medications, you want to make sure it's from 503A or 503B pharmacies, not research grade. How do you know if it's research grade? The first thing is you'll notice is they show up in a powdered form and you have to reconstitute it. 503A or B pharmacies won't send you things that you have to reconstitute because they're going to reconstitute them themselves in the pharmacy under a hood, under sterile conditions. That can't be guaranteed if you're doing that yourself in your practice. Now, if the patient has a side effect and you've reconstituted the research grade meds, now they could have had just a normal side effect, but if they complain to somebody, not only are you using research grade meds, but then they'll be able to also point that, oh, well, you didn't do this sterilely appropriately under a hood the way you should when you reconstituted it in your office. If the patient does it on their own, they can't blame that part on you, but the fact that you provided them with research grade meds is a whole nother issue. And I'm specifically talking here about research grade meds for medications that are available either from a compounding pharmacy or from the FDA. Now, I'm not talking about the BPC 157s and things like that. That's got no FDA alternative right now. But I'm talking about the GLP-1s. It's going to be a hard sell for you to explain why you're using why you're using research grade GLP-1s when it's available through compounding pharmacies, 503A pharmacies, and it's also available commercially. And that's what this provider found, is that he was offering GLP-1s research grade. And this is from April of 25. This isn't long ago. And this is unfortunately, a federal plea agreement that he entered a guilty plea of offering misbranded drugs. He was getting research grade meds and giving them to patients, specifically GLP-1s. And I think the thing that really kind of caught the eye of the FDA and the legal system is that he was getting his meds from SAF Research, which stood for Swole as Fuck Research. So pretty embarrassing, and that probably caught the eye of the FDA right there. And they fined him $250,000, and he's looking at 3 years in jail. I don't know that he's actually gone to jail yet, or they're going to, that was the maximum potential time. But anyway, this is the risk you run if you're going to be offering patients research grade meds that are already available as an alternate, as a compounded version or an FDA approved version. So I definitely highly encourage you to not offer GLP-1s in particular, because there's options that you don't have to resort to research grade. And it's not, and I know you think like, oh, research grade, it's so much less expensive. It's like, yeah, try explaining that to the FDA. If, as long as you're comfortable having that conversation with the FDA that you got these because they were less expensive, then go ahead. But the truth is, you can actually get really, really inexpensive 503A meds through if as long as you know the right compounding pharmacy. But we make this easier for faster ordering, electronic integration with the pharmacies, so you don't have to learn multiple platforms. We automatically route to the pharmacies with the license in the state it's being sent to. Because of our buyers group pricing, we can get 15 to 40% off what you would be able to get if you were trying to do this on your own, even if you knew the compounding pharmacies we work with. So, for example, it's $9.80 per milligram on semaglutide and as low as $3.38 per milligram with tirzepatide. That's lower than the prices I've seen for research grade meds online. So, how crazy is that? You can actually get it for less and it's more legal, or just legal. This is an additional legal memo from our general counsel, again, the pharmacist and attorney, that says that when the labels are not for human use or research use only, they mean what they say. That's what's going to get you in trouble. And if you're thinking like, oh, my vials say physician use only, that's a euphemism that's no different than not for human use, research grade. It's coming from a lab. Basically, all that lab is doing is they're putting the onus on you so that you bought it as a provider and then you gave it to the patient knowing full well that it was research grade. And just because you get them to sign a consent saying that they understand it's research grade, they can't sign away their rights for you doing something that's not actually appropriate. Um, and I do also want to make it clear there's been some news out there about, the congressman writing to the FDA saying, we got to stop these copycat peptides and things like that. This letter specifically to the FDA commissioner really makes it clear that when they talk about copycats, not all copycats are created equal. They're making it very clear in this letter that what the congressmen are really worried about are the peptides coming from out of the country that are copycats, that are like from labs, that are not from compounding pharmacies. They make it very clear that there is a distinction between those peptides from outside the country, from a lab, or from inside the country from a lab, versus copycats that are from compounding pharmacies that are legal copycats. When I talk about those commercially unavailable alternative formulations, those are legal copycats. So you have to understand that the government is starting to understand these differences, and they're more concerned about the peptides that are from labs versus the ones that are from compounding pharmacies. They're starting to catch up, because before they just thought all copycats were the same. So those are some obstacles you have to be considering, like making sure you're getting the meds legally. How do you get them legally? What pharmacies can you go to? But I also want to talk about other obstacles within the weight and wellness space. And these are all the things we're going to go through now. Specifically, I want to start with competition from direct to consumer websites. If you've been thinking like, you've always been so used to like competing with your colleagues down the street or next door, but they're really not your competition. All of your patients, or a big efflux of your patients, are going to the direct to consumer websites now, like Row and Hims, because they're making things so much easier for you to get access. And that's where we come in, is to help you realize that you still have a chance here. Because what do you have that they don't? Those direct to consumer websites, you've got real relationship with your patients, real accountability towards them, and real outcomes, because you're following these patients. But what do the direct to consumer websites have that you don't? And that's the modern frictionless technology. That's the ability to offer asynchronous consultations, which I'll get into, making it easy for patients to enroll on a mobile device. And then, those direct to consumer websites, they have the ability to advertise because they're legit script certified. We'll talk about that. One of the things that you probably don't even know about is that when you're doing these subscriptions for medications and you're taking the card over the phone, or you're keeping it on file, well, those are card not present transactions, and that actually is in violation of a lot of credit card processors that are not high risk payment processors. It's in violation of Visa and MasterCard, if you're not using a high risk payment processor. And then also the other things that you have to really get with that modern frictionless technology is the digital dosage tracking, so you're not tracking meds on a spreadsheet. But starting with taking something from the direct to consumer playbook, these asynchronous consultations. So if you look at this graph, this graphic, you look at the traditional process that most of you have. The patient calls the office, they wait on hold, they hope somebody's going to answer that's knowledgeable. Then they schedule the appointment days, weeks in advance. They either in person or virtually. Then they get a prescription and they go wait in line at the pharmacy. That's the traditional process. Is it any wonder that patients are going after the direct-to-consumer websites, which are which is the pathway on the right, where they complete a questionnaire online. The provider sends them a link to sign up online. The medication they pay online. Their medication is delivered to their door without them ever having to go into the office. That's the wave of the future, or the current wave of the now. The patients can get access. I mean, not obviously not all medications, not all medical situations, but in the medical situations and the medications that you can do it, there's no easier way to do this, and it still can be safe. Um, so with asynchronous consultations, and this is what, like the rows and the hymns, that's what they do in a lot of instances. The patients fill out a questionnaire, they review that, they send the patient a prescription. That's legal in 31 states. You don't have to have any kind of follow-up aside from that questionnaire that they fill out online. And we call these Dr. Well Smart Consults, where the patient fills it out. Now, you can have patients in all 50 states and DC fill out the questionnaire. There's nothing illegal about that, but it's just in 31 states, the ones that are in gold, the 31 states where you can actually, based on just that questionnaire, send the patient a script electronically, or send them a link to sign up for medication, and then the pharmacy will send them medication. That's legal in 31 states just based on the questionnaire. You don't have to follow up with them. In the other 19 states, after they fill out that smart consult, yes, you have to have at least some sort of a follow-up to that online questionnaire, and that could be virtual or it could be in person. So it's not really that high of a bar that you can review that questionnaire. And this is going to allow you right there, right off the bat. This is what's going to allow you to compete with the direct to consumer websites. But you're not going to go out and build your own smart consult, your own questionnaire. It's going to be disjointed and all those things. You're not going to be able to make it a seamless process like I'm going to describe now. So this is what it looks like for us. And it's got your logo at the top. It's white labeled for you, where the patient can fill out a questionnaire and they can be answering questions going down different pathways about weight loss, about sexual therapy, hair restoration, longevity, hormones. And then also coming soon, we're going to be these smart consults, actually maybe coming soon as of today. I think we just released it, where they're going to be able to fill out a smart consult based on addiction and behavioral therapies and things like that. And I'm the kind of examples I'm talking about is like GLP-1s for addiction. That's actually gaining a lot of traction now. So the patients can fill out this questionnaire, and then you review it in the back end and you determine whether they're a candidate or not. And then we even give you the warning, let you know that, okay, this patient is email or is messaging or sent you this or filled out this questionnaire from one of the 19 states where you have to have a follow-up visit. So we help you try to stay compliant. And then you review that questionnaire. And I want to give you an example of a patient that filled out their asynchronous consultation, their smart consult, and in less than 2 hours, they were signed up for a medication. So this particular patient, they filled out their asynchronous consultation at 6:37 on a Saturday morning. We reviewed it, and we actually, when we reviewed it, we sent them back a one-way message explaining to them, our program, and we also included a link for a specific program that they could enroll in. And so what happens is after we send them this one-way message, they get a text. And from that text, they click a link that brings them to a page like this, like what I'm showing you, the mobile friendly version, where they click on that link in their text, they can read the message from us, and they can see how easy it is because we've connected it with an actual subscription package they can sign up for. They can enroll now. So it's a really easy way of doing this. This is not going to be able to be something that you can like really build out on your own, but this is what's going to be able to allow you to compete with the ease of access of the Rose and the Hims of the world. And so after they click on enroll now, they're brought to the page where it's got your logo and they see the price, and then they put in their credit card information, their date of birth, and they're able to enroll in that medication. And then they're going to be charged every month for that subscription, or however often you set it up to charge them. The other thing that we just added that's really cool is that after they check out and purchase that, then they're also recommended additional items. And you can set up whatever recommended items you want. So if it's for weight loss, you could recommend NAD, you could recommend B12, and then they will have the ability to purchase those right then and there without having to re-enter their credit card information, making it very easy. So this is back to that example of the patient that's filled out an asynchronous consultation. We sent them a message with a connection to a link for a package. And in less than 2 hours from when they initially sent that smart consult, they signed up for this tirzepatide package. This is the confirmation email that we got. So it really works. When you make it easy for the patients, they're going to take on that actionable opportunity. And then I also want to show, this is a separate patient, just want to show you how the recommended items work, is this particular patient signed up for tirzepatide, and then a minute later, they signed up for Samorelin nasal spray because that was one of the recommended items. And then that Samorelin nasal spray also had recommended items. And so then they signed up for the NAD pump nasal spray. So this is just how this cascades. So instead of you having 10 patients on one subscription each, you could have 10 patients with 2 or 3 subscriptions each. And then you're going from 10 to 30 subscriptions. So there's obviously a lot of opportunity here for you to really scale your program. Next, I want to clarify that, that smart consult, that's a web page. That means it's got a link to it. Well, you can take that link and you can put that link on your own website. So patients could click a button, your web developer puts a button on your website, and they can fill out that smart consult directly from your website. Or you can put that link in your e-blast. People could be filling out smart consult. Like, you could basically getting medical intake information, paperwork through an e-blast. Or you can add it to your link tree and get it through social media. And then you can also get it by adding it to Google Ads. But you're only going to really be able to optimize your Google Ads through LegitScript certification. So let me talk about that now. LegitScript certification is, if you try to do it on your own, it takes months. It can be $5,000-$6,000 just to get LegitScript certified before you've even done one ad. But what LegitScript does is that Meta and Google, if you're going to want to advertise specifically semaglutide, tirzepatide, testosterone, like a drug name, you've got to be LegitScript certified, or Google or Meta will take down your ad. So what we've done here at Dr. Wells, we've gotten LegitScript certified. So the providers are advertising through our domain, then you can actually leverage our LegitScript certification. So for example, you can advertise, we can help you advertise tirzepatide, semaglutide, testosterone, whatever, and direct it back to your smart consult. So it is on the drwell.com domain because drwell.com is the one that's LegitScript certified, but we can direct your ads back to your page so patients won't see other people in a provider finder or anything like that. They'll only see your smart consult, and it's an opportunity for us to capture that lead and also get them to fill out that smart consult. And this is what it looks like here. Is what we've done is we've created a landing page that'll be specific for you. And it'll have your logo. We'll put whatever, if you have some testimonials you want to add in there. But this is obviously for my practice, but we can actually help you with your own landing page for marketing. And the first opportunity, we actually, the page looks even better now. We've updated it, but this is an opportunity for a lead. Number one, they put in their email address and you get that contact information. Then they're automatically taken to your smart consult. It's got your logo, and then they can fill out that smart consult. Lead number two. So these are things that we can do for you with our LegitScript certification. And that way you don't have to go out and get LegitScript certified. And we'll drive those Google ads back to that landing page that's specific for you. Lead generation number one, they fill out a smart consult. Lead generation number two, plus their medical intake information. Now, if you choose to do this, then it's a minimum of $1,000 ad spend per month and $750 per month for an ad management fee, no matter how much the ad spend is. But let me clarify, you don't actually have to pay out of pocket for this. So the way our process works, and I'll go into this a little bit later, is that when that patient signs up for that, let's say $600 for tirzepatide, they're charged, our high-risk payment processor charges them, then that generates a prescription in the back end of the Dr. Well platform. When you go in to submit that prescription, we know what the cost of goods are at that point. So what we do is, from that $600 tirzepatide patient, from the patient, we withhold the cost of goods from that $600 and we pay the compounding pharmacy. We send you the net revenue. So similarly, that way you don't have to have a big compounding pharmacy bill at the end of the month. So similarly, the way we withhold the cost of goods from the patient's payment, we can actually withhold the cost of the Google ads, whatever limit you set, plus the monthly ad management fee. We can withhold that from the patient's payments over the course of a month, and then we send you the net revenue. So you don't actually have any out-of-pocket expense for marketing, and you get legit script certification. You don't get legit script certification, but you get access to our legit script certification in the process. So it's a really cool opportunity that doesn't cost you out of money out of pocket. Now, when it comes to the high risk payment processing, as I mentioned before, when you take that credit card over the phone or you have it on file and you process these subscriptions each month, that is a card not present payment. That is not allowed by Visa or MasterCard unless you're using a high risk payment processor. And a high risk payment processor is for high risk services, GLP-1s, medications. Doesn't even have to be compounded medication, it could be name brand medications, but controlled substances, peptides, GLP-1s, all those things are considered high risk services, and you are supposed to be processing it through a high risk payment processor. And we've had providers that come to us that have gotten shut down by the Stripes and of the world because they were processing payments through non-high risk payment processors. The reason you don't have a high risk payment processor is because they're more expensive, typically 4.25 to 8%. Whereas through us, it's 2.9%. Now you may say, oh, I've got 2.1% with my payment processor. Again, yours is not a high risk payment processor. Number two, it probably doesn't include American Express. You're just quoting me the 2.1% for Visa and MasterCard. This 2.9% covers all of it and including high risk services that processing through the Dr. Well platform. And so if you risk your merchant account, they'll shut down if they find out you're doing this, they'll shut down your whole credit card processing for your whole practice, not just for the high risk services. And you might think, oh, well, my EMR covers this. My EMR, does payment processing. I'm sure they're high risk. They're probably not. This is an email I got from SimPay, which is the payment processor for SimPlast, the EMR that I use. And they said, oh, we put your account on hold because we think you're processing high risk services through a non-high risk payment processor. And I emailed them back. It's like, I am not. The only thing I use your the only thing I use your payment processor for is for patients when they book a consult online, they have to pay $100 or $200 consult fee. That's all I'm using your processor for, and those are not high risk services. And once I was able to show them that and they looked back at it and they realized I was not processing meds through it, they took my account off hold. But how annoying that even when I wasn't doing anything wrong, I was shown that my payment processor was not a high risk payment processor. And over 90% of EMRs are not high risk payment processors. And the merchant category code is 5122, just for you to know. But platforms like Stripe, Square, PayPal, they're not high risk payment processors. They will shut you down if they find out you're processing these payments when they're not a high risk payment processor, and they'll terminate your account. So this is a very real thing. And we are hearing from more and more of our providers that come to us that they've been shut down. Their processing has been shut down because they were doing GLP-1s with the card was not present. And so our high risk payment processor has you covered as long as you're processing all of the payments, the patient's payments, subscription payments through the Dr. Well platform, and they're charged automatically every month, and making that very easy to automate that service. Now, if you're looking to go out on your own or start your own practice or start your own weight and wellness program, or you are an ER doctor an ERPA, anything, and you're looking to go out and do your own thing, well, you might be interested in this next part about starting your own weight and wellness program, because if you are an NP or a PA and you can't practice on your own, that's an obstacle for you if you have to have a medical director to go and offer weight and wellness. And so that's something that we've now launched, that if you're an NP, a PA, a nurse, or even a naturopath provider in a state that allows you to prescribe medications, and you're looking to start, grow, or go out on your own and build a telehealth weight and wellness program, and you want to use the Dr. Well platform to manage and process all these subscriptions each month to help you scale and grow, then if you're planning on, if all those things in the left-hand side apply to you, then Dr. Well can connect you with one of our Dr. Well providers, so you don't have to search for your own medical director. We'll handle all the legal paperwork that's necessary for the collaborative agreement in your state, because everybody's got a different situation. Our team of attorneys will evaluate you and determine what's best for you, and they will drop the collaborative agreement, but it comes with a cost. So this is actually also good to explain to you as far as the Dr. Well platform. If you want to use our platform for the weight and wellness, to automate your programs, to the ability to submit prescriptions electronically through our platform and process those subscriptions each month, the cost for the Dr. Well platform by itself is $7,500. If you pay ACH, if you pay with a credit card, it's $7,725. But just the annual fee for the Dr. Well platform is $7,500. If you want to access our medical director collaboration program, where we'll get you access to a medical provider in a medical director in your state and help you with all of the legal paperwork. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do all these things on your own, but one, I don't think it's going to be as inexpensive, relatively speaking. And it's going to be a hassle for you to have to go out and find these people and make sure you're going to an attorney or a law firm that knows how to do this for you. So if you want the access to the medical director collaboration program, get connected to a medical director, get all the legal paperwork drawn up for you, then that's a one-time $7,500 fee, and that does have to be paid by ACH if you want to be part of that. So I'm not saying it's inexpensive, but if you're trying to go out on your own and trying to get started, you're trying to make sure you do it correctly, and you're not going to get hit with penalties down the road and have to redo everything because you did it wrong the first time. There's something worth getting it done right and getting it done conveniently. And also, most importantly, you have a platform in place for you to actually start making money right off the bat rather than just trying to figure it out on your own. The next thing I want to talk about, other obstacles, is dosage tracking. If any of you have a weight program, you have a spreadsheet like this where you're tracking what dose everybody's on. Well, our system keeps track of that dose. Each month, the dose goes up unless you want to lock them in on a certain dose. And it also allows you to, when you're going into the Dr. Well platform, to submit that prescription after the patient's been charged. We auto-generate a prescription for you. You have the dose that's there. You can adjust it at that last minute if you want. And then you choose from a drop-down menu of the medically bona fide reason why the patient needs that compounded GLP-1 as opposed to the commercially available one. And then when it comes to e-prescribing, as I've alluded to, you don't have to go into all these different pharmacy portals. You can just go through our portal and submit that prescription. And as I mentioned before, we will withhold the cost of goods at that point. We'll pay the compounding pharmacy, which, because we're paying the compounding pharmacy on behalf of everybody, that's bulk purchasing, volume discounts that we pass along to you, which is why you're going to get 15 to 40% off of these medications, and not just GLP-1s, all medications, than you would be able to get on your own. And then you submit that prescription. It's sent to the patient or sent to your office, whichever you choose. And it's very seamless. You don't have to do all that through a different pharmacy portal with different credentials every time you submit an order. And when it comes to compounded controlled medications like testosterone, phentermine, and ketamine, then we actually can make that easy too. You have to have a wet signature for this. So what we do is when you go to submit your prescription, we have a QR code you take a picture of that brings you to a website where you can then upload a wet signature prescription that is then appended to your electronic prescription that is sent to the compounding pharmacy. This is all just what you have to do from a federal law perspective, but we make that very easy. We can even get you your own prescription pad if you don't have one. But you really got to think big here. This is not just about GLP-1s. Think about this, the fact that this is like basically telehealth on steroids. There's so much more. You can do sexual wellness. You can do longevity. You can do hair restoration. You can do skin care. And it's not just in your neighborhood or your community. You can expand out in your whole state or any state you have a license in. But weight and wellness, to do it right, it is a must. But to do it right, you got to make sure you're connected with the right compounding pharmacy that has these commercially unavailable alternative formulations. Since the commercially available ones are off the shortage list, you got to have a way of submitting it with the medically justifiable reason to a pharmacy in your state for the right price and making sure it's legal. Utilizing a high-risk payment processor, legit script certification for unimpeded marketing access, and those asynchronous consultations will allow you to better compete with the direct-to-consumer websites. Thank you very much for listening. But before we stop and we take questions, I want to let you know that if you do sign up today with the Dr. Well platform, with or without the medical director, at the very least, you would, if you're signing up, it would be with the it would be with the Dr. Well platform, that annual subscription, to utilize all this automation. And then separately, if you want to add on the medical director program, then that's that separate fee. But if you're signing up for the platform today, then you can choose a designated champion in your office, and they'll receive 3 months worth of GLP medication credits, meaning that they can place the order and we'll give you credits so that it ends up costing you nothing to order those 3 months worth of GLP-1 medications for that staff member that's going to run your program. That way, if you're the provider, you don't have to be so hands-on. You can designate a champion in your practice and you'll get 3 months worth of credits. And then after 3 months, if your program has a total of 30 active enrollees at that time, at that 3-month mark, we'll give you another 3 months worth of GLP-1 medication credits at that point. All you have to do is when you sign up is the referral source is MedBio Institute. So so you can get credit for this. If you have any questions, we're going to get to those now, but also please take a picture of this QR code so that you can reach out to us. We can schedule you a demo and answer additional questions you have. But there's a lot of information there. So I see there's a lot of questions. So let's get to it, Katya.
Great, thank you so much. And we'll also send this out to everybody afterwards, so you'll have the recording, and then we'll send all the links and everything, so you have those easily accessible. And yeah, if people have questions, I would say either put them in the Q&A, or you can also just put them in the chat. I'm kind of monitoring both. So the first one is, what are the side effects of GLP-1 square?
Yeah, GLP-1 squared, the combination of semaglutide, tirzepatide, it's still the same possible side effects associated with each medication individually. But in our patient population, it's interesting. And I can't tell you that I have a reason for this yet, but we are not seeing more nausea and vomiting. Knock on wood, in our program, we've never had anybody with pancreatitis. Obviously, that would be a non-starter if we're seeing that. But what we are seeing, and strangely, is a reduction in some side effects with patients. Like, so for example, not saying across the board, but if there's certain patients had more constipation on semaglutide or tirzepatide, they're having less constipation on semaglutide combined with tirzepatide. I don't have a good reason for that. But as far as the side effects, we are not seeing compounded side effects where you're seeing either the same level of side effects they were having with either medication individually, or we're seeing a reduction in some side effects that I don't have a good explanation for. We will eventually study this more thoroughly and have better answers, that it's not just anecdotal. I understand that's a shortcoming of that, but I'm telling you that we're not seeing, double the side effects of combining them versus each individual. And maybe it has to do with the fact that we're lowering the dose of each. And that might be why some of the side effects are actually lessened.
Yeah. So that kind of goes into the next question where, can this be used by patients that didn't tolerate semaglutide well? Is it better to put them on the combo, or just completely move them to tirzepatide instead?
Yeah, that would be what I would do with my algorithm. I would say if they were having trouble on semaglutide, I would switch them to tirzepatide first. And then if they're doing great on tirzepatide, but then they get to a plateau, then I think it's reasonable then to try the combo. And keep in mind, you can go all the way up to 17 milligrams on tirzepatide from our compounding pharmacies, not just 15. But if they get to a plateau at the max dose of tirzepatide, then I think it's reasonable to give them the option of switching to the combo, because it is lower doses of semaglutide, and see how they do with that. Explaining to them, of course, that yes, it's still got semaglutide in it, but at a lower dose, and you may be okay with it.
So this next one, we have a semaglutide combo available at my local pharmacy, but you mentioned that it's exclusive. Is there something specific in the formulation with the combo that Dr. Well has?
Yeah, so ours is one, it's legal. I'm from a 503A pharmacy is what I mean. The other thing is that it's specifically, it's not just the same doses of each, it's combined into the same vial at lower doses. And so we have that proprietary formulation where it's lower doses, because we found that it's got synergistic effects within our patients, that you don't have to just do 2.5, you don't have to do the same commercial doses just added together. That's not very clever.
And what's the highest dose of the combo that you've given patients?
So we don't actually have to go all the way up to the 17 milligrams. The highest doses of the tirzepatide portion of it is 13 milligrams.
Okay. All right, let me go over here. Okay. With the Dr. Well program, our patients, so just to clarify, our patients should never actually speak to a provider. Is that your recommendation?
The patient should never speak to their provider?
Yeah, the question is with the Dr. Well program, am I understanding correctly? Our patients should never actually speak to a provider.
Oh, no. I'll just kind of speak more globally, and we'll see if we can address the question. So with the Dr. Well program, what we're doing is we're just providing you with the technology to make it easier for you to see and follow along with your patients. The patients don't reach out to us. Like, we are customers, we provide customer service for our providers. You still are working directly with your patients, and you can see your patients the way you've always seen your patients. You can see them in person, you can see them virtually, or you can use the Dr. Well Smart Consult to do that questionnaire. And depending on your state, you might have to follow up virtual or in-person visit with them. But the Dr. Well platform is not talking directly to your patients, because they're not our patients. We're not we can't do the corporate practice of medicine. But you can continue to see the patient however you want, however you choose. You run your practice the way you want. We're just trying to help you automate the process. Now, if you're saying that does Dr. Well allow you to just do the smart consults in the appropriate states where the patient fills out a questionnaire and the patient never sees the provider? Yeah, that's certainly possible. There's going to be some interaction with the patient and the provider, though, because you're sending them medications. And if they have any side effects or questions, they will be contacting you as the provider.
Yeah, so that kind of answers this next question. But the first part of it is the Dr. Well platform an EMR?
No, no, we are not an EMR in the traditional sense. What I would like to refer to as a PDS, a patient documentation system. So if you think of an EMR, it documents a lot of things, but the main purpose of EMRs originally was just to document as much stuff as possible to get higher E&M codes when you submit it to insurance. The more documentation, the higher reimbursement you get from insurance. Obviously, with all these medications we're talking about here, we're not talking about insurance, we're not talking about E&M codes, but that doesn't change the fact that our system does still document patient interaction, patient information, just like an EMR. So again, we're not like a traditional EMR of what maybe everybody thinks about, but we're still documenting and keeping all that HIPAA compliant the way an EMR does. For example, patient fills out an asynchronous consultation, a Dr. Well Smart Consult. That's all medical history information that you've got in the Dr. Well platform. Maybe not an EMR, but a PDS, a patient documentation system. So you've got all that information within Dr. Well. Then you send them a link to sign up for medication. That's documentation that you've sent them that prescription. They sign up, then you've got it documented in your back end that they're on this dose this month, and maybe it goes up to the next dose the next month or whatever medication they're on. All that's documented within the Dr. Well platform. So that's why I like to say we're a PDS, patient documentation system, but not an EMR in that traditional sense. But there's nothing magical about a way an EMR keeps documentation. Anybody can keep documentation. To some extent, if you're interacting with your patients via email, that's patient documentation as well.
So I guess the next two kind of go together. So one is who sets the pricing for patients, and then do clinics need to maintain separate medical records for the patients, separate from what's in the platform?
Right. So for the, I'm really glad somebody asked that question about the pricing. So again, we're just helping you automate and scale and grow your program weight and or wellness. So you actually set the pricing. What we do is when you sign up and we do the onboarding, we show you what our cost of goods are so that you could be sure that you set your price above that. And maybe you set it just above that a little bit to have an employee discounted package, or you set it even more so above that cost of goods for your regular patient. So no, you set the price to whatever you want to cover your cost and then some. Because while you're not upcharging the cost of goods, whatever amount you charge on top of the medication is charging for your services, which is legal. So that's the first part of the question. Now, the other part is we are really finding a lot of people are signing up for this. Yes, they have an existing brick and mortar place, or they don't have a brick and mortar. They're doing this as a side hustle, but then they realize this is a great opportunity to expand from whatever their day job is. Either way, whether you're an established practice with an EMR or you're not, you can actually keep your entire weight and wellness program within the Dr. Well platform. You don't have to transfer everything over to your EMR. It's not necessary to do that because everything is in self-contained within the Dr. Well platform. All the patient documentation, all of the payment information, all of those analytics are within the Dr. Well platform. You can download a spreadsheet and upload it to QuickBooks if you want for all your patient payments and things like that. But this literally can be a standalone PDS, patient documentation system, and also doing all the things that your EMR can't do all by itself, because your EMR is not going to do subscriptions on a certain date, a certain number of intervals each month. Like it might do it on the same calendar date each month, but that's not going to work with GLP-1s because you need to have them on either a 21 or a 28-day cycle. And most EMRs are not built out to have subscriptions to do where you can adjust how many days go between each billing cycle. It's not going to make it as easy for you to submit prescriptions. I know your EMR may have the ability for you to submit prescriptions, but remember each time, and don't tell me I'm lying, you've got to choose the patient, you've got to choose the medication, you got to put in the SIG, you got to choose all those different things. You got to choose from all these different drop downs, whereas our system auto generates that prescription to make it very easy for you to submit it. And remember that our system is going to send it to the correct compounding pharmacy that's going to have a license in your state wherever that patient is. Oh, and also our system gives you feedback and lets you know the tracking information on all those shipments. So you're going to get a tracking number for every shipment from that compounding pharmacy for every prescription that goes out.
Great. How long is the onboarding process once a provider signs up?
Now,
And can
people,
you go
yeah,
over what Dr. Well does for marketing advertising? I know you briefly you touched on
sure.
that as well.
No, great questions. So the um, as far as the onboarding, people don't believe me, but if you sign up, we can schedule an onboarding the same day. We can go over everything. All of the packages are all pre-populated default packages. You can adjust the descriptions, you can adjust the pricing, you can adjust the titles, but all the packages are already created and you can create new ones if you want. But I'm trying to say, I'm trying to point out how fast you can do this. If you're happy with the default packages we've already built, you can make those go live. We'll take care of the onboarding with the compounding pharmacy. You don't have to deal with any of that. And you literally can have somebody purchasing a package. You can send out a link to them through our system, send out a link for them to enroll in a package the same day. So literally, you can be onboarded and offering packages the same day that you sign up. It's not a lie. It doesn't typically go that fast because the office is more of the bottleneck. But as far as our perspective, we have onboarding specialists that can get you up and running the same day that you sign up. Because by that point, you've already had a demo or you've seen this webinar and you're already familiar with it. So we absolutely can be the same day. As far as marketing goes, I talked about Legit Script that you can choose to sign up for those other things where we withhold the cost of goods for the Google ads and that $750 monthly fee. Be clear, you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to choose to do any of that, but if you do, it's no out-of-pocket cost to you. But what marketing we do for you that is free for sure is that when you first sign up, we can go into your existing email marketing platform. We can build you an email, an e-blast, announcing your new weight and wellness program that you want to launch, and then you go and you review it, approve it, and you send it out. It's in your email database, whether your email marketing platform, whether it's Constant Contact, you give us access. We'll build an e-blast for you for free. You send it out whenever you want, send it out multiple times if you want. That part is free. Then once you get going and you're starting to build your program and you're really excited about it, but once you get a little bit of traction going, we will actually send somebody out to your location, wherever you are in the US, and our marketing person will come out there and shoot a TikTok video, TikTok and Instagram video for you. They'll coach you through it. You don't have to dance or anything, but they'll help you with a good educational, entertaining type of post that you can use on your social media. We'll use on our social media, Dr. Well RX. And so we'll promote you that way. That's free once you get going. If you really are getting going and you want to utilize our other free opportunity, we do something like a shared virtual consultation where we will send out an e-blast to our 200,000 plus consumers, letting them know we have an upcoming webinar from one of our providers, and you will give a shared virtual consultation, basically like a webinar that can count as a consultation, where you'll give them an overview of weight and wellness that you offer. And now you have to understand that not if you don't have a license in every state, some of those patients may not be future potential patients, but that's an opportunity we give you once you get going and really ramping up. And then you have the separate paid aspect of it all.
Okay, we'll do one last question.
I'm sorry. One other
Yeah.
thing. We actually are doing really well on social media, Dr. Well RX and also Real Dr. Bay on TikTok and Instagram. So we're always adding content to that ourselves. And our call to action oftentimes is to drive them to our Dr. Well provider finder where they'll find you there. So that's another free opportunity that you'll be able to be that we'll be doing that social media, driving people to the provider finder, and you can be there. We will eventually have a fee associated with being on the provider finder because our affiliates with LegitScript have to pay a fee. So there will eventually be a fee associated with being on the provider finder, unless you do that Google ad marketing and you do that for at least 3 months. Then we'll waive that fee. But that's a whole nother topic we can discuss if you decide you want to onboard.
Perfect. So then this last one is, can we see pricing prior to signing up?
The compounding pharmacy pricing, maybe is that what they're referring to?
It doesn't specifically say.
Well, yeah, so I'll just kind of cover everything. So we will not disclose who our compounding pharmacies are, but we can show you some of our rates of what we're getting for semaglutide, tirzepatide. I already sort of discussed that. It's like $9.38 or $9.83 per milligram for semaglutide, $3.38 for tirzepatide. Those specific prices may not be available to everybody because they may be in certain states that pharmacy doesn't go to. We've got coverage over all 50 states, though, to be clear. But I'm just mentioning that caveat that 983 for semaglutide is the lowest rate we have access to. Not everybody will have access to it. $3.38 per milligram for tirzepatide. That's with the largest vials. You may not want the largest vial, but the point is those are our rates. We can certainly discuss rates of our medications with you during a demo, but we will not disclose who our compounding pharmacies are at that point.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. So yeah, if you want to set up a demo, scan the QR code here. We will also send out an email after this with a recording of the webinar, as well as a link if you want to schedule some time and get some more information. And then, yeah, next week we have another webinar. We're going to have the InBody team in to talk about body composition. And then Dr. Well will be back on September 18th.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to seeing you next month.
Sounds good. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Bye, guys. Oh, y'all. Okay. Oh, hi. Ended the webinar. How are you?
Good.
Good. I will. Yeah.
Was good, huh?
Yeah, that was good. Wasn't as many people as last time, but I mean, people were still engaged. We still had questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta get some stuff over to Bradley right now. I kept meaning to do it, and it's like the
I have later
to-do
also a
list
call
that
with.
keeps missing, it keeps moving. So I need to just finish editing some copy for him really quick and send it over.
Yeah.
Yeah. But good. Yeah. So we'll do InBody next week and then have a little break until I'm back. Oh, and you're gone.